everyone, Jamie Ben-Isri, and we're back with Logik TV. And I'm still with Steve Garai, real estate broker with RE/MAX. And we're talking a little bit about hidden defects. And we're talking about different scenarios and unforeseen circumstances and surprises that come about when buyers aren't reasonably informed or when they just don't notice certain defects with a property. And you had a particular circumstance, and off camera we were kind of going back and forth a little bit. And you had a scenario that you wanted to share with us. So I figured, hey, let's do it for the benefit of our audience, so we could take a real, real scenario and apply it to what we should be doing.
Right. So this case study in particular, I helped a recent client purchase a duplex, and as they were renovating that duplex, they realized that there was a problem with the foundation. So they brought in the engineers to evaluate it, and it turned out that it had all the hallmarks of a hidden defect.
It looked damaged.
Indeed. Yeah. And it existed prior to the purchase.
That's what they were alleging.
Well, the engineers proved that. But anyway, so my question to you, Jamie, is, I mean, you're an attorney. What should my client do when they discover that there's a problem?
So at this point, what we like to do is, I like to break down the anatomy of what a hidden defect scenario looks like. And for me, what you've just described is step one. So this is buy property, you notice a defect, deteriorated property, foundation, you have confirmation from an engineer or an expert that there is a real problem. You got to stop the work right there. So you stop whatever you're doing in its tracks, because if you don't, the consequences are that you can lose a potential recourse against the seller. So the first thing you need to do is advise your seller and stop the work. Give him an opportunity to come, inspect what you're alleging to be a defect, and give him an opportunity to pronounce himself or do the necessary corrections.
In the case that the former seller does not come to witness after you've invited them to take notice, what happens?
Very good question. So if there's radio silence, if he says, I don't want to come, I can't be bothered, or I live out of town, don't bother me, that is kind of the next step, and that's the next wave of kind of scenarios that gets put in place, and that it's basically your authorization to go ahead and do the work. Because if he's not coming or she's not coming to do the corrective works, or is not interested in evaluating whether they're liable for it, well, you basically have the authority and the kind of the legal grounds to do the work, conserve your invoices, and that's when you evaluate whether or not you have grounds to pursue any reimbursement or other claims that would kind of end up being in court, for example.
And in this case, the former seller hired a lawyer to write an intimidating letter, and then sent it to my buyer, saying that they wash their hands of this, they want nothing to do with this, and if my buyer persists in pursuing this case, that they will countersue.
Okay, so this is in your scenario a situation where there's an express denial, saying, hey, we're not responsible for this, leave us alone, and if you try to kind of come after us, we may countersue you or whatever. So this is, again, another opportunity or permission, if you will, for you to go ahead and do the corrective works. Now, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get reimbursed, if you go in front of a judge. It just means, hey, you've been diligent, you've advised, you've done your legal due diligence in advising the other party that there's a problem. They're saying they don't want to come, so you do the work. And now, the next question is, do you follow up with the suit? And do you kind of go to court with this kind of a scenario? So that's kind of, in both situations, how you get to go to court, but there's a lot of different steps along the way.
And that's where you come in.
That's where I come in. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And this has been Jamie Ben-Isri. Tough questions from Steve Garai. Stay with us for other episodes coming up.
Cheers.
If you like this video, don't forget to press on that little thumb. Don't forget to comment below, share the page, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.